SaLaurMor Notes for Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Author's Preface. His experience with Charles M. Schwab and other young men of Mr. Schwab's type convinced Mr. Carnegie that much of that which is taught in the schools is of no value whatsoever in connection with the business of earning a living or accumulating riches. Moreover, his coaching made fortunes for every one of them who followed his instructions. If you have ever been discouraged, if you have had difficulties to surmount, which took the very soul out of you, if you have tried and failed, if you were ever handicapped by illness or physical affliction, this story of my son's discovery and use of the Carnegie formula may prove to be the oasis in the desert of lost hope for which you have been searching. A peculiar thing about the secret is that those who once acquire it and use it find themselves literally swept on to success with but little effort, and they never again submit to failure. The secret to which I refer cannot be had without a price, although the price is far less than its value. It cannot be had at any price by those who are not intentionally searching for it. One part is already in possession of those who are ready for it. The secret serves equally well all who are ready for it. You can still be what you wish for. That money, fame, recognition, and happiness can be had by all who are ready and determined to have these blessings. I have never known anyone who was inspired to use the secret who did not achieve noteworthy success in his chosen calling. Those who master and apply the secret will reach high stations, accumulate riches, and bargain with life on their own terms, even if their schooling has been meager. The Carnegie secret may be recognized. It is this: all achievement, all earned riches have their beginning in an idea. Chapter 1, Introduction. Truly, thoughts are things, and powerful things at that, when they are mixed with definiteness of purpose, persistence, and a burning desire for their translation into riches or other material objects. One of the chief characteristics of Edward C. Barnes's desire was that it was definite. He wanted to work with Edison, not for him. But his was no ordinary desire. In speaking of the first meeting between Barnes and Edison years later, Mr. Edison said, "He stood there before me looking like an ordinary tramp, but there was something in the expression of his face which conveyed the impression that he was determined to get what he had come after." I had learned from years of experience with men that when a man really desires a thing so deeply that he's willing to stake his entire fortune on a single turn of the wheel in order to get it, he is sure to win. I gave him the opportunity he asked for because I saw he had made up his mind to stand by until he succeeded. Just what young Barnes said to Mr. Edison on that occasion was far less important than that which he thought. It was what he thought that counted. If the significance of this statement can be conveyed to every person who reads it, there would be no need for the remainder of this book. Psychologists have correctly said that when one is truly ready for a thing, it puts in its appearance. Barnes did not say to himself, "Oh, well, what's the use? I guess I'll change my mind and try for a salesman's job." But he did say, "I came here to go in business with Edison. I'll accomplish this, and if it takes the remainder of my life." He meant it. What a different story men would have to tell if only they would adopt a definite purpose and stand by that purpose until it had time to become an all-consuming obsession. Maybe young Barnes did not know it at the time, but his bulldog determination, his persistence in standing back of a single desire was destined to mow down all opposition and bring in the opportunity he was seeking. This is one of the tricks of opportunity. It has a sly habit of slipping in by the back door, and often it comes disguised in the form of misfortune or temporary defeat. Perhaps this is why so many fail to recognize opportunity. The Business Alliance has been in operation for more than 30 years. Out of it, Barnes has made himself rich in money, but he has done something infinitely greater. He has proved that one really may think and grow rich. Knowledge that an intangible impulse of thought can be transmuted into its physical counterpart by the application of known principles. He thought himself into a fortune. He had nothing to start with except the capacity to know what he wanted and the determination to stand by that desire until he realized it. He did have initiative, faith, and the will to win. Failure is a trickster with a keen sense of irony and cunning. It takes great delight in tripping one when success is almost within reach. One sound desire is all that one needs to achieve success. When riches begin to come, they come so quickly in such great abundance that one wonders where they have been hiding during all those lean years. When you begin to think and grow rich, you will observe that riches begin with a state of mind with definiteness of purpose, with little or no hard work. One of the main weaknesses of mankind is the average man's familiarity with the word impossible. This book was written for those who seek the rules which have made others successful and are willing to stake everything on those rules. Success comes to those who become success conscious. The object of this book is to help all who seek it to learn the art of changing their minds from failure consciousness to success consciousness. We foolishly believe that our limitations are the proper measure of limitations. Henry Ford is a success because he understands and applies the principles of success. One of these is desire, knowing what one wants. You are the master of your fate, the captain of your soul, because when Henley wrote those prophetic lines, he should have informed us that we are the masters of our fate, the captains of our souls, because we have the power to control our thoughts. The ether is filled with a form of universal power which adapts itself to the nature of the thoughts we hold in our minds. Henley should have told us with great emphasis that this power makes no attempt to discriminate between destructive thoughts and constructive thoughts, that it will urge us to translate into physical reality thoughts of poverty just as quickly as it will influence us to act upon thoughts of riches. He should have told us too that our brains become magnetized with the dominating thoughts which we hold in our minds, and by means with which no man is familiar, these magnets attract to us the forces, the people, the circumstances of life, which harmonize with the nature of our dominating thoughts. He should have told us that before we can accumulate riches in great abundance, we must magnetize our minds with intense desire for riches, that we must become money conscious until the desire for money drives us to create definite plans for acquiring it. Maintain a spirit of openness, open-mindedness, and remember as you read, they are the invention of no one man. The principles were gathered from the life experiences of more than 500 men who actually accumulated riches in huge amounts. Chapter 2, Desire. Barnes's desire was not a hope. It was not a wish. It was a keen, pulsating desire which transcended everything else. It was definite. Barnes succeeded because he chose a definite goal, placed all his energy, all his willpower, all his effort, everything back of that goal. It is a remarkable illustration of the power of definite desire. Barnes won his goal because he wanted to be a business associate of Mr. Edison more than he wanted anything else. He said, "There is but one thing in this world that I am determined to have, and that is a business association with Thomas A. Edison. I will burn all bridges behind me and stake my entire future on my ability to get what I want." He left himself no possible way of retreat. He had to win or perish. This is all there is to the Barnes story of success. Every person who wins in any undertaking must be willing to burn his ships and cut all sources of retreat. Only by so doing can one be sure of maintaining that state of mind known as a burning desire to win, essential to success. Every human being who reaches a state of understanding the purpose of money wishes for it. Wishing will not bring riches, but desiring riches with a state of mind that becomes an obsession, then planning definite ways and means to acquire riches and backing those plans with persistence, which does not magnetize failure, will bring riches. The method by which desire for riches can be transmuted into its financial equivalent consists of 6 definite practical steps. First, fix in your mind the exact amount of money you desire. Second, determine exactly what you intend to give in return for the money you desire. Third, establish a definite date when you intend to possess the money you desire. Fourth, create a definite plan for carrying out your desire. Fifth, write out a clear, concise statement of the amount of money you intend to acquire, name the time limit for its acquisition, state what you intend to give, and describe clearly the plan through which you intend to accumulate it. Sixth, read your written statement aloud twice daily, once just before retiring at night and once after arising in the morning. As you read, see and feel and believe yourself already in possession of the money. It is important that you follow the instructions described in these 6 steps. It is especially important that you observe and follow the instructions in the 6th step. The object is to want money and to become so determined to have it that you convince yourself you will have it. Only those who become money conscious ever accumulate great riches. Money consciousness means that the mind has become so thoroughly saturated with the desire for money that one can see oneself already in the possession of it. It may be helpful to all who fail to recognize the soundness of the 6 steps to know that the information they convey was received by Andrew Carnegie. Thomas A. Edison placed his stamp of approval upon them as being not only the steps essential for the accumulation of money, but necessary for the attainment of any definite goal. One must realize that all who have accumulated great fortunes first did a certain amount of dreaming, hoping, wishing, desiring, and planning before they acquired money. You may as well know right here that you can never have riches in great quantities unless you can work yourself into a white heat of desire for money and actually believe you will possess it. If you do not see great riches in your imagination, you will never see them in your bank account. Back of all this demand for new and better things, there is one quality which one must possess to win, and that is definiteness of purpose, the knowledge of what one wants, and a burning desire to possess it. This new changed world requires practical dreamers who can and will put their dreams into action. Tolerance and an open mind are practical necessities of the dreamer of today. Let no one influence you to scorn the dreamer. Success requires no apologies. Failure permits no alibis. If the thing you wish to do is right and you believe in it, go ahead and do it. Put your dream across and never mind what they say if you meet with temporary defeat, for they perhaps do not know that every failure brings with it the seed of an equivalent success. Practical dreamers do not quit. The world is filled with abundance of opportunity, which the dreamers of the past never knew. A burning desire to be and to do is the starting point from which the dreamer must take off. Dreamers are not born of indifference, laziness, or lack of ambition. Remember, too, that all who succeed in life get off to a bad start and pass through many heartbreaking struggles before they arrive. The turning point in the lives of those who succeed usually comes at a moment of some crisis through which they are introduced to their other selves. Disappointment over love affairs generally have the effect of driving men to drink and women to ruin, and this because most people never learn the art of transmuting their strongest emotions into dreams of a constructive nature. No one is defeated until defeat has been accepted as a reality. Before passing to the next chapter, kindle anew in your mind the fire of hope, faith, courage, and tolerance. No one is ready for a thing until he believes he can acquire it. The state of mind must be belief, not mere hope or wish. Open-mindedness is essential for belief. Closed minds do not inspire faith, courage, and belief. The whole course of things goes to teach us faith. We need only obey. There is guidance for each of us, and by lowly listening, we shall hear the right word. Our only limitations are those we set up in our minds. Desire backed with faith knows no such word as impossible. Having determined that my son could hear the sound of my voice plainly, I began immediately to transfer to his mind the desire to hear and speak. I soon discovered that the child enjoyed bedtime stories, so I went to work creating stories designed to develop in him self-reliance, imagination, and a keen desire to hear and to be normal. Every adversity brings with it the seed of an equivalent advantage. I must confess that I had not the slightest idea how this affliction could ever become an asset. My son did not question anything I told him. I sold him the idea that he had distinct advantage over his older brother and that this advantage would reflect itself in many ways. Truly, my own son has taught me that handicaps can be converted into stepping stones on which one may climb towards some worthy goal unless they are accepted as obstacles and used as alibis. Nothing is impossible to the person who backs desire with enduring faith. A burning desire has devious ways of transmuting itself into its physical equivalent. There is nothing right or wrong which belief plus burning desire cannot make real. These qualities are free to everyone. It has been my good fortune to have had the privilege of testing the soundness of the power of desire through the affliction of my own son. Strange and imponderable is the power of the human mind. We do not understand the method by which it uses every circumstance, every individual, every physical thing within its reach as a means of transmuting desire into its physical counterpart. Perhaps science will uncover the secret. I planted in my son's mind the desire to hear and to speak as any normal person hears and speaks. That desire has now become a reality. First, I mixed faith with the desire for normal hearing, which I passed on to my son. Second, I communicated my desire to him in every conceivable way available. Third, he believed me. I believe in the power of desire backed by faith because I have seen this power lift men from lowly beginnings to places of power and wealth. All achievement, no matter what may be its nature or its purpose, must begin with an intense burning desire for something definite. Through some strange and powerful principle of mental chemistry, which she has never divulged, nature wraps up in the impulse of strong desire that something which recognizes no such word as impossible and accepts no such reality as failure. Chapter 3, Faith. When faith is blended with the vibration of thought, the subconscious mind instantly picks up the vibration, translates it into its spiritual equivalent, and transmits it to infinite intelligence, as in the case of prayer. The emotions of faith, love, and sex are the most powerful of all the major positive emotions. Love and faith are psychic, related to the spiritual side of man. Faith is a state of mind which may be induced or created by affirmation or repeated instructions to the subconscious mind through the principle of autosuggestion. As an illustration, consider the purpose for which you are presumably reading this book. The object is naturally to acquire the ability to transmute the intangible thought impulse of desire into its physical counterpart, money. Repetition of affirmation of orders to your subconscious mind is the only known method of voluntary development of the emotion of faith. Any impulsive thought which is repeatedly passed on to the subconscious mind is finally accepted and acted upon by the subconscious mind, which proceeds to translate that impulse into its physical equivalent by the most practical procedure available. In connection with this, consider again the statement, all thoughts which have been emotionalized, given feeling, and mixed with faith begin immediately to translate themselves into their physical equivalent or counterpart. The emotions or the feeling portion of thoughts are the factors which give thoughts vitality, life, and action. The emotions of faith, love, and sex, when mixed with any thought impulse, give it greater action than any of these emotions can do singly. The subconscious mind will translate into its physical equivalent a thought impulse of negative or destructive nature just as readily as it will act upon thought impulses of a positive or constructive nature. There are millions of people who believe themselves doomed to poverty and failure because of some strange force of which they believe they have no control. They are the creators of their own misfortunes because of this negative belief. This is an appropriate place at which to suggest again that you may benefit by passing on to your subconscious mind any desire which you wish translated into its physical and monetary equivalent in a state of expectancy or belief that transmission will actually take place. Conduct yourself just as you would if you were already in possession of the material thing which you are demanding when you call upon your subconscious mind. The subconscious mind will transmute into its physical equivalent by the most direct and practical media available any order which is given to it in a state of belief or faith that the order will be carried out. One may develop faith by voluntarily suggesting to the subconscious mind that one has faith. Understand this truth, and you will know why it is essential for you to encourage the positive emotions as dominating forces of your mind and discourage and eliminate negative emotions. Faith is the eternal elixir which gives life, power, and action to the impulse of thought. Faith is the starting point of all accumulation of riches. Faith is the only known antidote for failure. Faith is the element which transforms the ordinary vibration of thought created by the finite mind of man into the spiritual equivalent. Faith is the only agency through which the cosmic force of infinite intelligence can be harnessed and used by man. Every man is what he is because of the dominating thoughts which he permits to occupy his mind. Thoughts which are mixed with any of the feelings of emotions constitute a magnetic force which attracts from the vibration of the ether other similar or related thoughts. The ether is a great cosmic mass of eternal forces of vibration. It is made up of both destructive vibrations and constructive vibrations. It carries at all times vibrations of fear, poverty, disease, failure, misery, and vibrations of prosperity, health, success, and happiness, just as surely as it carries the sound of hundreds of orchestrations of music and hundreds of human voices, all of which maintain their own individuality and means of identification through the medium of radio. Now let us go back to the starting point and become informed as to how the original seed of an idea, plan, or purpose may be planted in the mind. The information is easily conveyed. Any idea, plan, or purpose may be placed in the mind through repetition of thought. That is why you are asked to write out a statement of your major purpose or definite chief aim, committed to memory, and repeat it in audible words day after day until these vibrations of sound have reached your subconscious mind. We are what we are because of the vibrations of thought which we pick up and register through the stimuli of our daily environment. You will discover that your greatest weakness is lack of self-confidence. The application of this principle may be made through a simple arrangement of positive thought impulses stated in writing, memorized, and repeated until they become a part of your working equipment of the subconscious faculty of your mind. The self-confidence formula. First, I know I have the ability to achieve the object, my definite purpose in life. Therefore, I demand of myself persistent, continuous action towards its attainment, and I here and now promise to render such action. Second, I realize the dominant thoughts of my mind will eventually reproduce themselves and act with physical action, gradually transform themselves into physical reality. Therefore, I concentrate my thoughts for 30 minutes daily upon the task of thinking the person I intend to become, thereby creating in my mind a clear mental picture of that person. Third, I know through the principle of autosuggestion, any desire that I persistently hold in my mind will eventually seek expression through some practical means of attaining the object back of it. Therefore, I will devote 10 minutes daily to demanding myself to develop my self-confidence. Fourth, I've clearly written down a description of my chief aim in life, and I would never stop trying until I shall have developed sufficient self-confidence for its attainment. Fifth, I fully realize no wealth position can endure unless built upon truth and justice, and therefore engage in no transaction which should not benefit all of its effects. I will succeed by attracting myself to force in which use cooperation of other people. I will do so as to serve me because my willingness to serve others. I will eliminate hatred, envy, jealousy, selfishness, and cynicism by developing love for all humanity, because I know a negative attitude towards others can never bring me success. I will cause others to believe in me because I will believe in them and in myself. I will sign my name to this formula and commit it to memory and repeat it out loud once a day with full faith that it will gradually influence my thoughts and actions so that I will become a self-reliant, successful person. The subconscious mind, the chemical laboratory in which all thought impulses are combined and made ready for translation into physical reality, makes no distinction between constructive and destructive thought impulses. It works with the material we feed it. Through our thought impulses, the subconscious mind will translate into reality a thought driven by fear just as readily as it will translate into reality a thought driven by courage or faith. The law of autosuggestion will lead you to peace and prosperity. If you fill your mind with fear, doubt, and unbelief in your ability to connect with and use the force of infinite intelligence, the law of autosuggestion will take the spirit of unbelief and use it as a pattern by which your subconscious mind will translate it into physical equivalent. Somewhere in your makeup, there lies sleeping the seed of achievement, which, if roused and put into action, would carry you to heights such as you may never have hoped to obtain. It is a known fact that the emotion of love is closely akin to the state of mind known as faith, and this for the reason that love comes very near to translating one's thought impulses into a spiritual equivalent. The emotional love in the human heart and brain creates a favorable field of magnetic attraction, which causes an influx of the higher and finer vibrations which are afloat in the ether. If there are any such phenomena as miracles, they are produced only through the state of mind known as faith. Gandhi wields more power, more potential power than any man living at this time, and this despite the fact that he has none of the orthodox tools of power, such as money, battleships, soldiers, and materials of warfare. The methods of the past, based upon economic combinations of force and fear, will be supplanted by the better principles of faith and cooperation. The watchword of the future will be human happiness and contentment, and when the state of mind shall have been attained, the production will take care of itself. The huge U.S. Steel Corporation was born in the mind of Charles M. Schwab in the form of an idea he created through his imagination. Second, he mixed faith with his idea. Third, he formulated a plan for the transformation of his idea into physical and financial reality. Fourth, he put his plan into action. Fifth, he applied and followed through on his plan with persistence and backed it with firm decision until it had been fully carried out. Sixth, he prepared the way for success by a burning desire for success. Desire can be transmuted into its physical equivalent. Riches begin in the form of thought. The amount is limited only by the person in whose mind the thought is put into motion. Faith removes limitations. There are no limitations to the mind except those we acknowledge. Both poverty and riches are the offspring of thought. Chapter 4, Autosuggestion. You were instructed in the last of the 6 steps described in the chapter on desire to read aloud twice daily the written statement of your desire for money and to see and feel yourself already in possession of the money. Remember, therefore, when reading aloud the statement of your desire, that the mere reading of the words is of no consequence unless you mix emotion or feeling with your words. This is a fact of such importance as to warrant repetition in practically every chapter, because the lack of understanding of this is the main reason the majority of people who try to apply the principle of auto-suggestion get no desirable results. Your ability to use the principle of auto-suggestion will depend very largely upon your capacity to concentrate upon a given desire until that desire becomes a burning obsession. Be on the alert for plans. And when they appear, put them into action immediately. When the plans appear, they will probably flash into your mind through the sixth sense in the form of inspiration. Create a definite plan for carrying out your desire and begin at once to put this plan into action. You should follow this instruction in the manner described in the preceding paragraph. Do not trust to your reason when creating your plan for accumulating money through the transmutation of desire. Your reason is faulty. Moreover, your reasoning faculty may be lazy, and if you depend entirely upon it to serve you, it may disappoint. See yourself rendering the service, delivering the merchandise you intend to give in return for this money. This is important. To get satisfactory results, you must follow all the instructions in a spirit of faith. First, go into a quiet place where you will not be disturbed, interrupted. Close your eyes and repeat aloud so you may hear your own words, the written statement of the amount of money you intend to accumulate, the time limit for its accumulation, and a description of the service or merchandise you intend to give in return for the money. For example, suppose that you intend to accumulate $50,000 by the 1st of January, 5 years hence. Your written statement of your purpose should be similar to the following. By the 1st day of January, I will have in my possession $50,000, which will come to me in various amounts of time to time during the interim. In return for this money, I'll give the most efficient service which I am capable, rendering the fullest possible quantity and the best possible quality of service in and then describe the service or merchandise you intend to sell. I believe I will have this money in my possession. My faith is so strong that I can now see this money before my eyes. I can touch it with my hands. It is now waiting transferred to me at the time and in the proportion I deliver the service I intend to render in return for it. I'm waiting a plan by which to accumulate this money. I follow this plan when it is received. Second, repeat this program night and morning until you can see in your imagination the money you intend to accumulate. Third, place a written copy of your statement where you can see it night and morning and read it just before retiring and upon arising until it has been memorized. Faith is the strongest and most productive of the emotions. If you follow the instructions outlined, your skepticism will soon be replaced by belief, and this in turn will soon be crystallized into absolute faith. Remember, I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. Man may become the master of himself and of his environment because he has the power to influence his own subconscious mind and through it gain cooperation of infinite intelligence. The actual performance of transmuting desire into money involves the use of autosuggestion as an agency by which one may reach and influence the subconscious mind. Inject into your efforts something of the faith of a child. Chapter 5, Specialized Knowledge. Knowledge will not attract money unless it is organized and intelligently directed through practical plans of action to the definite end of accumulation of money. Lack of understanding of this fact has been the source of confusion to millions of people who falsely believe that knowledge is power. It is nothing of the sort. Knowledge is only potential power. Knowledge becomes power only when and if it is organized into a definite plan of action and directed to a definite end. An educated man is not necessarily one who has an abundance of general specialized knowledge. An educated man is one who has so developed the faculties of his mind that he may acquire anything he wants or its equivalent, but that without violating the rights of others. Before you can be sure of your ability to transmute desire into monetary equivalent, you will require specialized knowledge of the surface, merchandise, or profession which you intend to offer in return for fortune. The accumulation of great fortunes calls for power, and power is acquired through highly organized and intelligently directed specialized knowledge. But that knowledge does not necessarily have to be in the possession of the man who accumulates his fortune. Specialized knowledge is among the most plentiful and the cheapest form of service which may be had. As knowledge is required, it must be organized and put into use for a definite purpose through practical plans. The truth is that schooling does but little more than to put one in the way of learning how to acquire practical knowledge. The person who stops studying merely because he has finished school is forever hopelessly doomed to mediocrity, no matter what may be his calling. The way of success is the way of continuous pursuit of knowledge. The beginning of this successful business was an idea. If you have the imagination and seek a more profitable outlet of your personal services, this suggestion may be the stimulus for which you have been searching. There is no fixed price for sound ideas. Back of all ideas is specialized knowledge. Unfortunately, for those who do not find riches in abundance, specialized knowledge is more abundant and more easily acquired than ideas. Because of this very truth, there's a universal demand and ever-increasing opportunity for the person capable of helping men and women to sell their personal services advantageously. Imagination, the fifth step toward riches. It has been said that man can create anything which he can imagine. Man's only limitation within reason lies in his development and use of his imagination. Two forms of imagination. One is known as synthetic imagination, the other as creative imagination. Synthetic imagination creates nothing. Creative imagination. Through the faculty of creative imagination, the finite mind of man has direct communication with infinite intelligence. Keep in mind as you follow these principles that the entire story of how one may convert desire into money cannot be told in one statement. The story will be complete only when one has mastered, assimilated, and begun to make use of all the principles. Desire is only a thought, an impulse. It is nebulous and ephemeral. It is abstract and of no value until it has been transformed into its physical counterpart. Transformation of the intangible impulse of desire into the tangible reality of money calls for the use of a plan or plans. Read the entire book through, then come back to this chapter and begin at once to put your imagination to work on the building of a plan. Carry out the instructions best suited to your needs. Reduce your plan to writing if you have not already done so. The moment you complete this, you have definitely given concrete form to the intangible desire. Desire is thought impulse. God seems to throw himself in the side of the man who knows exactly what he wants if he is determined to get just that. Observe that Asa Candler and Dr. Frank Gonzalez had one characteristic in common. Both knew the outstanding truth that ideas can be transmuted into cash through the power of definite purpose plus definite plans. If you're one of those who believe that hard work and honesty alone will bring riches, perish the thought, it is not true. Riches, when they come in huge quantities, are never the result of hard work. Riches come, if they come at all, in response to definite demands based upon the application of definite principles and not by chance or luck. Generally speaking, an idea is an impulse of thought that impels action by an appeal to the imagination. There is no standard price on ideas. The creator of ideas makes his own price, and if he is smart, gets it. The story of practically every great fortune starts with the day when a creative ideas and a seller of ideas got together and worked in harmony. Carnegie surrounded himself with men who could do all that he could not do, men who created ideas and men who put ideas into operation and made himself and the others fabulously rich. Success requires no explanations. Failure permits no alibis. Chapter 7, Organized Planning. You have learned that everything man creates or acquires begins in the form of desire. You will now be instructed how to build plans which will be practical. A, ally yourself with a group of as many people as you may need for the creation and carrying out of your plans. B, before forming your mastermind alliance, decide what advantages and benefits you may offer the individual members of your group in return for their cooperation. C, arrange to meet with the members of your mastermind group at least twice a week and more often if possible. And D, maintain perfect harmony between yourself and every member of your mastermind group. Keep in mind these facts. First, you are engaged in an undertaking of major importance to you. To be sure of success, you must have plans which are faultless. Second, you must have the advantage of the experience, education, native ability, and imagination of other minds. No individual has sufficient experience, education, native ability, and knowledge to ensure the accumulation of a great fortune without the cooperation of other people. Every plan you adopt in your endeavor to accumulate wealth should be the joint creation of yourself and every other member of your mastermind group. If the first plan which you adopt does not work successfully, replace it with a new plan. If this new plan fails to work, replace it in turn with still another, and so on until you find a plan that does work. Right here is the point at which the majority of men meet with failure because of their lack of persistence in creating new plans to take the place of those which fail. The most intelligent man living cannot succeed in accumulating money, nor in any other undertaking without plans which are practical and workable. Thomas A. Edison failed 10,000 times before he perfected the incandescent electric light bulb. That is, he met with temporary defeat. Millions of men go through life in misery and poverty because they lack a sound plan through which to accumulate a fortune. Your achievement can be no greater than your plans are sound. No man is ever whipped until he quits in his own mind. A quitter never wins, and a winner never quits. The major attributes of leadership. 1, unwavering courage based on knowledge of oneself and of one's occupation. 2, self-control. 3, a keen sense of justice. 4, definiteness of decision. 5, definiteness of plans. 6, the habit of doing more than paid for. 7, a pleasing personality. 8, sympathy and understanding. 9, mastery of detail. 10, willingness to assume full responsibility. 11, cooperation. There are 2 forms of leadership. The first and by far the most effective is leadership of consent of and with the sympathy of the followers. The second is leadership by force without the consent and sympathy of followers. History is filled with evidences that leadership by force cannot endure. The 10 major causes of failure in leadership. 1, inability to organize details. 2, unwillingness to render humble service. 3, expectation of pay for what they know instead of what they do with what they know. 4, fear of competition from followers. 5, lack of imagination. 6, selfishness. 7, intemperance. 8, disloyalty. 9, emphasis of the authority of leadership. And 10, emphasis of title. How to get the exact position you desire. 1, decide exactly what kind of job you want. 2, choose the company or individual for whom you wish to work. 3, study your prospective employer. 4, by analysis of yourself, your talents and capabilities, figure what you can offer and plan ways and means of giving advantages. 5, forget about a job. Forget whether or not there is an opening. Forget the usual routine of have you got me a job. Concentrate on what you can give. 6, once you have your plan in mind, arrange with the experienced writer to put it on paper in neat form. 7, present it to the proper person with authority, and he will do the rest. What is your QQS rating? Every person must be his own salesman of personal services. The quality and quantity of service rendered and the spirit in which it is rendered determine to a large extent the price and duration of employment. So let's analyze the formula to make sure we understand exactly what it means. 1, quality of service shall be construed to mean the performance of every detail in connection with your position. 2, quantity of service shall be understood to mean the habit of rendering all the service of which you're capable at all times with the purpose of increasing the amount of service rendered. 3, spirit of service shall be construed to mean that habit of agreeable, harmonious conduct which will induce cooperation from associates and fellow employees. Andrew Carnegie emphasized again and again the necessity for harmonious conduct. He stressed the fact that he would not retain any man, no matter how great a quantity or how efficient the quality of his service, unless he worked in a spirit of harmony. The importance of a pleasing personality has been stressed because it is a factor which enables one to render service in the proper spirit. The 30 major causes of failure. 1, unfavorable hereditary background. 2, lack of a well-defined purpose in life. 3, lack of ambition to aim above mediocrity. 4, insufficient education. 5, lack of self-discipline. 6, ill health. 7, unfavorable environmental influences during childhood. 8, procrastination. 9, lack of persistence. 10, negative personality. 11, lack of controlled sexual urge. 12, uncontrolled desire for something for nothing. 13, lack of a well-defined power of decision. 14, one or more of the 6 basic fears, which will be analyzed for you in a later chapter. 15, wrong selection of a mate in marriage. 16, overcaution. 17, wrong selection of associates in business. 18, superstition and prejudice. 19, wrong selection of a vocation. 20, lack of concentration of effort. 21, the habit of indiscriminate spending. 22, lack of enthusiasm. 23, intolerance. 24, intemperance. 25, inability to cooperate with others. 26, possession of power that was not acquired through self-effort. 27, intention, dishonesty. 28, egotism and vanity. 29, guessing instead of thinking. 30, lack of capital. You should know all of your weaknesses in order that you may either bridge them or eliminate them entirely. Before you even start to negotiate for readjustment of your salary in your present position or to seek employment elsewhere, be sure that you're worth more than you now receive. It is one thing to want money. Everyone wants more, but it's something entirely to be worth more. Many people mistake their wants for their just dues. Your financial requirements or wants have nothing whatsoever to do with your worth. Your value is established entirely by your ability to render useful service or your capacity to induce others to render such service. There is but one dependable method of accumulating and legally holding riches, and that is by rendering useful service. Chapter 8, Decision. Accurate analysis of over 25,000 men and women who had experienced failure disclosed the fact that lack of decision was near the head of the list of the 30 major causes of failure. This is no mere statement of a theory. It is a fact. Procrastination, the opposite of decision, is a common enemy which practically every man must conquer. Analysis of several hundred people who had accumulated fortunes well beyond the $1 million mark disclosed the fact that every one of them had the habit of reaching decisions promptly and of changing their decisions slowly and if and when they were changed. People who fail to accumulate money without exception have the habit of reaching decisions, if at all, very slowly, and of changing their decisions quickly and often. One of Henry Ford's most astounding qualities is his habit of reaching decisions quickly and definitely and changing them slowly. The majority of people who fail to accumulate money sufficient for their needs are generally easily influenced by the opinions of others. Opinions are the cheapest commodities on earth. If you are influenced by the opinions of others, you will have no desire of your own. Keep your own counsel when you begin to put into practice the principle described here by reaching your own decisions and following them. Take no one into your confidence except the members of your mastermind group, and be very sure in your selection of this group that you choose only those who will be in complete sympathy and harmony with your purpose. You have a brain and mind of your own. Use it and reach your own decisions. Tell the world what you intend to do, but first show it. By decisions made in a spirit of faith, and only by such decisions can men solve their personal problems and with from themselves high estates of material and spiritual wealth. Let us not forget this. It will not be difficult to detect in the story of the Declaration of Independence at least 6 of these principles: desire, decision, faith, persistence, the mastermind, and organized planning. Those who reach decisions properly and definitely know what they want and generally get it. They're the leaders in every walk of life, decide quickly and firmly. 98 out of every 100 people working for wages today are in the positions they hold because they lack the definiteness of decision, plan a definite position, and the knowledge of how to choose an employer. Definiteness of decision always requires courage, sometimes very great courage. Chapter 9, persistence. Men who accumulate great fortunes are generally known as cold-blooded and sometimes ruthless. Often they are misunderstood. What they have is willpower, which they miss with persistence and place back of their desires to ensure the attainment of their objectives. Unless you are one of the 2 out of every 100 who already have a definite goal at which you are aiming and a definite plan for its attainment, you may read the instructions, then pass on with your daily routine and never comply with these instructions. The author is checking up on you at this point because lack of persistence is one of the major causes of failure. The starting point of all achievement is desire. If you find you are weak and persistent, send your attention upon the instruction contained in the chapter on power. Surround yourself with a mastermind group, and through the cooperation and efforts of the members of the group, you can develop persistence. To get results, you must apply all the rules until their application becomes a fixed habit with you. Poverty is attracted to the one whose mind is favorable to it, as money is attracted to him whose mind has been deliberately prepared to attract it, and through the same laws. The money consciousness must be created to order unless one is born with such a consciousness. With persistence, you will win. With persistence will come success. There is no substitute for persistence. Persistence is a state of mind, therefore it can be cultivated. Like all states of mind, persistence is based upon definite causes, among them these: definiteness of purpose, desire, self-reliance, definiteness of plans, accurate knowledge, cooperation, willpower, and habit. Symptoms of lack of persistence: 1, failure to recognize and to clearly define exactly what one wants. 2, procrastination. 3, lack of interest. 4, indecision. 5, the habit of relying upon alibis instead of creating definite plans. 6, self satisfaction. 7, indifference. 8, the habit of blaming others for one's mistakes. 9, weakness of desire. 10, willingness, even eagerness to quit at the first sign of defeat. 11, lack of organized plans. 12, the habit of neglecting to move on ideas or to grasp opportunity when it presents itself. 13, wishing instead of willing. 14, the habit of compromising with poverty instead of aiming at riches. 15, searching for all the shortcuts to riches, trying to get without giving a fair equivalent. 16, fear of criticism, failure to create plans and to put them into action because of what other people will think, do, or say. Let us examine some of the symptoms of the fear of criticism. Huge numbers of people make mistakes in marriages, stand by their bargain, and go through life miserable and unhappy because they fear criticism, which may follow if they correct a mistake. People refuse to take chances in business because they fear the criticism, which may follow if they fail. The fear of criticism in such cases is stronger than the desire of success. How to develop persistence. 4 steps. 1, a definite purpose. 2, a definite plan. 3, a mind closed tightly against all negative and discouraging influences. 4, a friendly alliance with one or more persons who will encourage one to follow through with both plan and persistence. Chapter 10, the power of the mastermind. Power is essential for success in the accumulation of money. Power may be defined as organized and intelligently directed knowledge. Power is required for the accumulation of money. Power is necessary for the retention of money if it has been accumulated. Let us ascertain how power may be acquired. If power is organized knowledge, let us examine the sources of knowledge. A, infinite intelligence. B, accumulated experience. C, experiment and research. Gaining power through the mastermind. The mastermind may be defined as coordination of knowledge and effort in a spirit of harmony between two or more people for the attainment of a definite purpose. Economic advantages may be created by any person who surrounds himself with the advice, counsel, and personal cooperation of a group of men who are willing to lend him wholehearted aid in spirit of perfect harmony. The psychic phase of the mastermind principle is much more abstract, much more difficult to comprehend because it has reference to the spiritual forces which the human race as a whole is not well acquainted. You may catch a significant suggestion from this statement. No two minds ever come together without thereby creating a third invisible, intangible force, which may be likened to a third mind. Great power can be accumulated through no other principle. When a group of individual brains are coordinated and function in harmony, the increased energy created through that alliance becomes available to every individual brain in the group. It is a well-known fact that Henry Ford began his business career under the handicap of poverty, illiteracy, and ignorance. And it is an equally known fact that within the inconceivably short period of 10 years, Mr. Ford mastered these three handicaps, and within 25 years, he made himself one of the richest men in America. Connect with this fact the additional knowledge of Mr. Ford's most rapid strides became noticeable from the time he became a personal friend of Thomas A. Edison, and you will begin to understand what the influence of one mind upon another can accomplish. Men take on the nature and the habits and the power of thought of those with whom they associate in a spirit of sympathy and harmony. Let us study the method by which he attained his stupendous power. For Gandhi, it may be explained in a few words. He came by power through inducing over 200 billion people to coordinate with mind and body in a spirit of harmony for definite purpose. Money is as shy and elusive as the old-time maiden. It must be wooed and won by methods not unlike those used by a determined lover in the pursuit of the girl of his choice. And coincidentally, as it is, the power used in the wooing of money is not greatly different from that used in wooing a maiden. That power, when successfully used in the pursuit of money, must be mixed with faith. It must be mixed with desire. It must be mixed with persistence. It must be applied through a plan, and that plan must be set into action. When money comes in quantities known as the big money, it flows to the one who accumulates it as easily as water flows downhill. Every man who has accumulated a great fortune has recognized the existence of this stream of life. It consists of one's thinking process. The positive emotions of thought form the side of the stream which carries one to fortune, the negative emotions from the side which carries one down to poverty. When riches take the place of poverty, the change is usually brought about through well-conceived and carefully executed plans. Anybody can wish for riches, and most people do, but only a few know that a definite plan plus a burning desire for wealth are the only dependable means of accumulating wealth. Chapter 11, the mystery of sex mutation. Sex desire is the most powerful human desires. When driven by this desire, men develop keenness of imagination, courage, willpower, persistence, and creative ability unknown to them at other times. Scientific research has disclosed these significant facts. 1, the men of greatest achievement are men with highly developed sex natures. 2, the men who have accumulated great fortunes and achieved outstanding recognition in literature, art, industry, architecture, and these professions were motivated by the influence of a woman. The emotion of sex contains the secret of creative ability. The 10 mind stimuli. The stimuli to which the mind responds most freely are 1, desire for sex, 2, love, 3, a burning desire for fame, power, or financial gain, money, 4, music, 5, friendship, 6, a mastermind alliance, 7, mutual suffering, 8, autosuggestion, 9, fear, 10, narcotics and alcohol. A better definition of a genius is a man who has discovered how to increase the vibration of thought to the point where he can freely communicate with sources of knowledge not available through the ordinary rate of vibration of thought. The reality of a sixth sense has been fairly well established. This sixth sense is creative imagination. The faculty of creative imagination is one which the majority of people never use during an entire lifetime, and if used at all, it usually happens by mere accident. The faculty of creative imagination is the direct link between the finite mind of man and infinite intelligence. All so-called revelations referred to in the realm of religion and all discoveries of basic or new principles in the field of invention take place through the faculty of creative imagination. When ideas or concepts flash into one's mind through what is popularly called a hunch, they come from one or more of the following sources. One, infinite intelligence. Two, one subconscious mind. Three, from the mind of some other person. Four, from the other person's subconscious storehouse. The creative imagination functions best when the mind is vibrating at an extremely high rate. While on this exalted plane of thought, the creative faculty of the mind is given freedom for action. The sixth sense is the faculty which marks the difference between a genius and an ordinary individual. The creative faculty becomes more alert and receptive to vibrations originating outside the individual's subconscious mind, the more this faculty is used. And the more the individual relies on it, makes demands upon it for thought impulses. It is a fact well known to people who have keen imaginations that their best ideas come through so-called hunches. One of America's most successful and best-known financiers followed the habit of closing his eyes for 2 or 3 minutes before making a decision. When asked why he did this, he replied, "With my eyes closed, I'm able to draw upon a source of superior intelligence." The reasoning faculty is often faulty because it is largely guided by one's accumulated experience. Not all knowledge which one accumulates through experience is accurate. Ideas received through the creative faculty are much more reliable. It is well known to psychologists that there is a very close relationship between sex desires and spiritual urges, a fact which accounts for the peculiar behavior of people who participate in the orgies known as religious revivals common among the primitive type. People are influenced in their actions not by reason so much as by feeling. Highly sexed people always have plentiful supply of magnetism. This energy may be communicated to others through the following media. One, handshake. Two, the tone of voice. Three, posture and carriage. Four, the vibration of thought. Five, body adornment. People who lack sex energy will never become enthusiastic nor inspire others with enthusiasm. And enthusiasm is one of the most important requisites in salesmanship, no matter what one is selling. The salesman who knows how to take his mind off the subject of sex and direct it in sales effort with as much energy and enthusiasm and determination as he would apply to its original purpose has acquired the art of sex transmutation, whether he knows it or not. When the emotion of love begins to mix itself with the emotion of sex, the result is calmness of purpose, poise, accuracy of judgment, and balance. When the emotion of love is mixed with the emotion of sex, the same man will guide his actions with more sanity, balance, and reason. The road to genius consists of the development, control, and use of sex, love, and romance. Briefly, the process may be stated as follows. Encourage the presence of these emotions as the dominating thoughts in one mind and discourage the presence of all the destructive emotions. Control comes from persistence and habit. When any negative emotion presents itself in one mind, it can be transmuted into a positive, constructive emotion by the simple procedure of changing one's thoughts. There is no other road to genius than through voluntary self-effort. Go back into your yesterdays at times and bathe your mind in the beautiful memories of past love. It will soften the influence of the present worries and annoyances. It will give you a source of escape from the unpleasant realities of life. And maybe, who knows, your mind will yield to you during this temporary retreat into the world of fantasy, ideas or plans which may change the entire financial, spiritual status of your life. There should be no disappointment over love, and there would be none if people understood the difference between the emotions of love and sex. The major difference is that love is spiritual, while sex is biological. Love is without question life's greatest experience. It brings one into communion with infinite intelligence. When mixed with the emotions of romance and sex, it may lead one far up the ladder of creative effort. When the emotion of romance is added to those of love and sex, the obstructions between the finite mind of man and infinite intelligence are removed. Then a genius has been born. Fortunate is the husband whose wife understands the true relationship between the emotions of love, sex, and romance. One of man's greatest motivating forces is his desire to please woman. Men who accumulate large fortunes and attain to great heights of power and fame do so mainly to satisfy the desire to please women. It is this inherent desire of man to please women which gives woman the power to make or break a man. No man is happy or complete without the modifying influence of the right man, right woman, or man. Chapter 12, the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind works day and night. Through a method of procedure unknown to man, the subconscious mind draws upon the forces of infinite intelligence for the power with which it voluntarily transmutes one's desires into their physical equivalent, making use always of the most practical medium by which this end may be accomplished. You cannot entirely control your subconscious mind, but you can voluntarily hand over to it any plan, desire, or purpose which you wish transformed into concrete form. It alone is the medium through which prayer may be transmuted to the source capable of answering prayer. Remember that the subconscious mind may be voluntarily directed only through habit on the direction given in the chapter on faith. You have not yet had time to master faith. Be patient, be persistent. Thoughts are truly things for the reason that every material thing begins in the form of thought energy. In fact, there is much evidence to support the theory that only emotionalized thoughts have any action influence upon the subconscious mind. The 7 major positive emotions: the emotion of desire, faith, love, sex, enthusiasm, romance, and hope. The 7 major negative emotions: fear, jealousy, hate, revenge, greed, superstition, anger. If you pray for a thing but have fears you pray that you may not receive it or that your prayer will not be acted upon by infinite intelligence, your prayer will have been in vain. There are no toll gates between the finite mind of man and infinite intelligence. The communication costs nothing except patience, faith, persistence, understanding, and a sincere desire to communicate. Faith is the only known agency which will give your thoughts a spiritual nature. Chapter 13, the brain and this 12th step toward riches. More than 20 years ago, the author, working in conjunction with the late Dr. Alexander Graham Bell and Dr. Elmer Gates, observed that every human brain is both a broadcasting and receiving station for the vibration of thought. Every human brain is capable of picking up vibrations of thought which are being released by other brains. When stimulated or stepped up to a high rate of vibration, the mind becomes more receptive to the vibration of thought, which reaches it through the ether from outside sources. This stepping up process takes place through the positive emotions or the negative emotions. Through the emotions, the vibrations of thought may be increased. Vibrations of an exceedingly high rate are the only vibrations picked up and carried by the ether from one brain to another. Thought is energy traveling at an exceedingly high rate of vibration. Thought, which has been modified or stepped up by any of the major emotions, vibrates at a much higher rate than ordinary thought, and it is this type of thought which passes from one brain to another through the broadcasting machinery of the human brain. You have but 3 principles to bear in mind and to apply when you wish to use your broadcasting station: the subconscious mind, creative imagination, and auto-suggestion. Sometimes men speak lightly of the intangibles, the things which cannot perceive through any of their 5 senses. And when we hear them, it should remind us that all of us are controlled by forces which are unseen and intangible. All known forces of radiant energy decline inversely at the square of the distance transversed. Telepathy and clairvoyance do not, but they do vary through physical causes as our own mental powers do. The conditions to which I refer consist of a close working alliance between myself and 2 members of my staff. This procedure is very simple. We sit down at a conference table, clearly state the nature of the problem we have under consideration, then begin discussing it. Each contributes whatever thoughts that may occur. The strange thing about this method of mind stimulation is that it places each participant in communication with unknown sources of knowledge, definitely outside his own experience. By adopting and following a similar plan, any student of this philosophy may come into the possession of the famous Carnegie formula briefly described in the introduction. Chapter 14, the 6th sense. The 13th principle is known as the 6th sense, through which infinite intelligence may and will communicate voluntarily without any effort from or demands by the individual. The 6th sense is that portion of the subconscious mind which has been referred to as creative imagination. The 6th sense probably is the medium of contact between the finite mind of man and infinite intelligence, and for this reason, it is a mixture of both the mental and the spiritual. Through the aid of the 6th sense, you will be warned of impending dangers in time to avoid them and notified of opportunities in time to embrace them. The author is not a believer nor an advocate of miracles, for the reason that he is has enough knowledge of nature to understand that nature never deviates from her established laws. Some of her laws are so incomprehensible that they produce what appear to be miracles. This intelligence may, though, through the principles of this philosophy, be induced to aid in transmuting desires into concrete or material form. My experience has taught me that the next best thing to be truly great is to emulate the great by feeling and action as nearly as possible. Long before I had ever written a line of publication or endeavored to deliver a speech in public, I followed the habit of reshaping my own character by trying to imitate the 9 men whose lives and life works had been most impressive to me. These 9 men were Emerson, Paine, Edison, Darwin, Lincoln, Burbank, Napoleon, Ford, and Carnegie. My purpose was to rebuild my own character so it would represent a composite of the characters of my imaginary counselors. Having read this chapter, you must have observed that while reading it, you were lifted to a high level of mental stimulation. Splendid. Come back to this again a month from now, read it once more, and observe that your mind will soar to a still higher level of stimulation. Repeat this experience from time to time, giving no concern as to how much or how little you learn at the time, and eventually you will find yourself in possession of power that will enable you to throw off discouragement, master fear, overcome procrastination, draw freely upon your imagination. Remember, too, that as you analyze the 6 ghosts of fear, that they are nothing but ghosts because they exist only in one's mind. Chapter 15, how to outwit the 6 ghosts of fear. The 6 basic fear of poverty, criticism, ill health, loss of the love of someone, old age, and death. Fears are nothing more than states of mind. One state of mind is subject to control direction. Physicians, as everyone knows, are less subject to attack by disease than ordinary laymen for the reason that physicians do not fear disease. Man can create nothing which he does not first conceive in the form of an impulse of thought. Following the statement comes another of still greater importance, namely man's thought impulses begin immediately to translate themselves into their physical equivalent, whether those thoughts are voluntary or involuntary. Every human being has the ability to completely control his own mind. And with this control, obviously, every person may open his mind to the tramp thought impulses which are being released by other brains, or close those doors tightly and admit only those thought impulses of his own choice. Absolute control over but one thing, and that is thought. If it is true that all thought has a tendency to close itself in its physical equivalent, and this is true beyond any reasonable room for doubt, it is equally true that thought impulses of fear and poverty cannot be translated into terms of courage and financial gain. Now this chapter goes through in detail all the different fears and fear of criticism and the fear of loss of love, the fear of death. And then it asks you to do a self-analysis test and answer all these questions, which I highly recommend doing.